Okay, so I made the last video and two things have happened very close to each other. First of all, Tony phoned back and he said I can do the scholarship. And then I get an email from my friend and he says this: your new video is ace. What a nice guy. I could put you in touch with some of my contacts in the BTCC. I know Matt Neal quite well. What? I've had some days in my life, but this one's definitely up there as being one of the most exciting / odd. So some emails went back and he invited me to go to Thruxton to have a look round. So I arrived at Thruxton, sort of still not quite believing this was a real thing, and I'm asked to phone a guy called Steve, so it all feels a bit suitcases in the car park. You got the money, you got the stuff. And he meets me at the gate and he takes me through to the paddock, and then all of a sudden, from nowhere, I'm sat in their hospitality. Everyone is being so kind. They've given me food, they've offered me sweets, they've offered me coffee, but I'm still a little bit nervous. I'm a bit shy because I'm a chancer. I don't know anyone. No one knows me. I've put a video on YouTube. That is all they know. And yet they've invited me to come and have a look round. So I'm a bit nervous. So I occupy myself taking pictures of cars, tyres. I mean, I've got so many pictures of tyres, you would not believe it. But I think, do you know what? I'm here now. I've got to commit to this idea. The reason I'm there is because I've always thought that motorsport was a young man's game. But the BTCC would suggest otherwise because there are some very old drivers there. I think Stuart Lyons is the oldest. It's probably not polite to say how old he is. So I thought, well, let's get their opinion, because ideally what I'd like to do is put this to bed. If I'm too old, I'm too old. So be it. But if I'm not, let's forget about it and move on to the next stage. So I started asking people. First of all, I bumped into a bloke called Robbo. Now, Robbo is a photographer, and it would appear that he knows everybody on the grid in motorsport in the world. So I'm doing a VW scholarship. No one said I'm too old to do it. Never too old. You're never too old. Robbo happens to be talking to this lady. Her name is Jo. So I ask her what she thinks. I'm going to try and do, Tony Gillan runs a VW scholarship. Yeah. It's only 400 quid, and if you win it, you get to drive a car in a genuine series. So, yeah. And yeah. I'm gonna give it a spin.
Oh my God, I love this.
High five!
I love it.
Yeah, well, I was a bit worried about it because I thought I might be too old, but not one person told me I am.
No.
Okay, so I've asked Robbo, I've asked Jo, but still a bit shy, just walking up to a driver, sticking a camera in their face and go, all right, you want to ask a question? I asked someone else. So I found this guy called Pete. Pete works for Carlin Racing and he drives the trucks. So technically he is a Carlin Racing driver. Do you think I'm too old?
No.
No?
No, you just need the talent.
Talent?
Talent.
So he's a Carlin Racing driver. So he's a driver for... I don't know why I bother. But it's after speaking to Pete, I think, do you know what? Right, that's it. Get on with it. Man up, go and find a racing driver. Where better to go than the Team R garage? So I head towards Tony's garage. I get there and I can't quite believe it. There, just at the front of the garage, just bold as brass, Michael Epps and Jake Hill just standing there. No PR, no barrier, no bodyguards, nothing, just there. So I think, right, this is it. I'm going to ask them. But because I've kind of got positive responses, I think they're young guys, maybe I could cajole them into agreeing with the sentiment that racing is a young man's game. Will you do me a favour and tell me I'm too old to do this?
How old are you?
42.
No, you're not too old, I'm sorry. You're not too old. No, there's some guys in there that are 40s, some in their 50s maybe coming up.
Yeah.
It's still quick. I don't think you lose it. You know, you learn to ride a bike.
Yeah, you're done.
You can still ride it when you're 50 something if you fit enough.
How old are you?
22.
And how long have you been racing cars?
7 years now.
Now, I've spoken to a lot of old duffers today.
Yeah.
No one has said it's a young man's game, you're an idiot. What do you reckon?
I reckon it's not just about the age, it's only because we're all here trying to make a career for ourselves and obviously trying to get there as early as possible. So yeah, I say definitely go for it, get involved. Nothing,
nada, zip. So, do you know what I think? Right, let's go and find Tony and see what Tony thinks. But what I quickly realised as I look into the garage is there's a car missing the front half. So I saw Tony's there and I say, I don't suppose you could sort of run me through the things that you told me on the phone about the scholarship. He said, yeah, I will. But I swear, this is the quote of the weekend for me. He says, I will do, but not right now, because the diff shit itself and took the gearbox with it. Now, who couldn't love a man whose attitude to motorsport? The diff shit itself, took the gearbox with it. It's poetry. It's actually poetry. So I leave him to it. But true to his word, later on, in a fairly noisy garage, so apologies for that, he runs me through what the scholarship's about and why he does it.
So the VW Scholarship is a scholarship program where we can add support and help somebody, some racing driver, whether they've raced before or not is irrelevant, live their dream. What we're looking for is potential. What we're looking for is to place that potential in one of our cars with the help of our sponsors and us as a team, collectively making it achievable for somebody to get into a race car, mix it at the front and show people what they can do. Last year's scholarship winner, Toby Davies, won on his debut. It was extra special because he was still racing with a novice cross on his car, which just shows what the scholarship is all about. But all too often today in motorsport, people can't afford to go racing. Everybody needs help. So what we do, the budget that we have, or I have personally and as a team, we place into a scholarship program, and every single driver that races under our banner is receiving support from us as a team, as a collective with our sponsors. So we're helping in all ways that we can. We don't have an endless pit or bottomless pit of money, but we are helping all that we can to go racing. And we've grown from 6 drivers to 34 drivers under our banner in just 12 months. So it shows that we're actually onto something. It's a very unique concept, and if you want to give us a call to find out even more detail how it operates, get in touch.
Then I asked him if I should worry because I'm old and unfit.
Potential is natural. If you have a natural ability, it's there. Whatever shape, size, age that you are, if you have potential and we recognise it, we will look to support that. We got guys on our scholarship. The scholarship age range was 15 up until 60 years old last year. We signed 3 drivers on our scholarship programme for VAG Trophy, all shapes and sizes. Young gentleman, Darren Lewis, 40 plus, and maybe a 40 plus waist as well, but that's irrelevant. The guy can pedal. He's our little secret weapon. He's currently P2, was leading the championship. He also won on his debut. So fundamentally, the opportunity is for anybody and everybody. If you have potential and we recognise that potential, we will look to support it. So you can always get in shape. You can always learn, you can always improve. Natural ability, if it's there, it's there. It doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, what size you are, what shape you are. If you've got it, you've got it. Plain and simple.
That's great, isn't it? It's a really lovely thing. But what's missing from that interview, and what Tony is too modest to say, is something I heard from his mum. It's a family team. The reason Tony does this is because when he began racing, there was no one there to do it for him. Before we all get a bit weepy and start sending I heart you Tony messages on Twitter, what happened next is pretty weird. So I went back to Halfords Yuasa Racing to have dinner. Why wouldn't you? And while I'm sat there, 4 feet away over there, Louise Goodman's having her dinner, and then Matt Neal just wanders in and sits down sort of a foot over there. So I think, do you know what? I've had such a good day. I have not met a single person that's been negative, a single person that has turned me away. So I'll ask Matt. So I say, Matt, thanks for having me here. It's an amazing day. I don't suppose you could do an interview? And he goes, sure. You want to do it now? So I go up to the top of this truck, and I've never been in one of these trucks. I've seen them a lot. So I'm at the top of this truck, and there's all these glass tables. It's quite nice. And at one end, the social media people. So while I'm waiting for Matt to come up, I decide to ask their opinion.
If you compare motorsport to things like athletics, athletics has grassroots. Motorsport doesn't really, which is obviously where Tony Gillam is trying to fill that gap. It's almost like the X Factor kind of things, where you discover the people that wouldn't necessarily go out and do because they haven't got the knowledge of where to go or the funding.
Then up the stairs comes 3-time British Touring Car champion Matt Neal. So I decide to sit down and ask him what he thinks about this whole age thing. And so I've decided at the tender age of 42 to become a racing driver.
You're only 42?
Yeah, I'm 42, look at that, thanks.
Did you had a hard paper around, didn't you?
People say it's a young man's game. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, obviously not.
How old are you, if that's not a personal question?
I'm 42, no, I'm 49.
So, 49. Why do you think people say it's a young man's game?
I think they look at Formula One as the pinnacle, which you've got a lot of physical demands and stresses with G's, high G, and reaction time, and probably it is a young man's game with that, and there's a lot of bravery involved in that. With touring cars or sports cars, it's a different game. There's a lot of cunning and guile goes into it.
The age helps with.
Age and cunning tries to outwit youth and skill. I think you don't get any faster as you get older, but you learn how to finish races. And if you finish races regularly, and you're in a good car and you position yourself in a good car with a good team and can go half quickly, then you can be in the running for the championship at the end of each year. So,
have you ever taken the car out of the pit lane, got onto the back straight, and forgotten what you went there for in the first place?
You mean like a senior citizen moment?
Have you ever seen a moment in your car?
I tell you what I have done. My mind's wandered into something else because I've raced a lot, obviously, and my mind's wandered on to what I'm going to have for tea tonight or what I'm doing. And it's like when you drive to work, isn't it? Or you drive to the office, and then suddenly you go, how did I get here? And you've done it on autopilot. Wow. And you have to, but that's bad. Yeah. And I recognise that, and you have to be very focused.
I was looking around your garage when you were doing your practice laps. What would you guess the average age of your garage is?
Hopefully older than me. It is actually probably, yeah.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's an amazing environment that there's all of these old people. Well, not old people, OAPs. No, but it's just so much experience.
OAPs. I'm going to tell them that.
Don't tell them, because some of them, they're old, but they look like they could probably handle themselves. Old guys in the garage, I'm really sorry. When I said old guys and OAPs, I meant like cool OAPs. You know the ones you've got. Who have you got? You've got Gandalf, Dumbledore, Mr. Miyagi. They're all cool old dudes. All right, I'm probably not helping myself. This might help. Right. During the first race at Thruxton, Matt's tyre blew up, and there was a little bit of trouble. A bit of trouble, in fact, that meant that both Gordon and Matt crashed their cars. Now, in the tiny bit of space between the end of that race and the beginning of the next, those crazy old dudes fixed it. Look. This is what happens to your car if you go for the first race and nothing really happens to it. However, if you crash your car during that first race, this is what happens to your garage. There's a lot of experience in that building, in that temporary hut. Now, I've got none of that, which I'll be honest, is actually my main concern. Now I realise I've got no experience. That's a problem. Are we cool, old guys? It probably doesn't matter. Can't use the internet anyway. I saw one of them try to text. Not a clue. Shouting. Ooh!
Some of these modern cars have got so much download data. They know if you do anything in there. You can't get away with shit these days.